Hidden Unicorns. I am your host, Danielle, and you're listening to the Hidden Unicorns podcast. Today, I have a very special guest on here with me. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, absolutely. So, my name is Maria Friday. I am a transformational women's leadership coach. I consider myself the self-love coach. I help women who have went through some difficult seasons. I help them to just come out of those seasons better than they were before. I am a wife to the amazing Stephen Friday, and I have three biological children and one bonus son. I am a project manager by trade, and I love working with women. My ministry is just pouring into women. I've been doing this for about 15 years, where I just pour into women and let them know who they are and whose they are. And that's what I enjoy doing. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course. I saw your Instagram and your TikTok, and you have some really powerful things on here. So I was like, I need to get her on my podcast.
I love that. Thank you so much. Means the world.
Of course. I asked you to pick a woman of the Bible to talk about. Can you share what woman you chose and why?
Yes, I chose Mary Magdalene. And I chose her because her story is can be seen in a lot of different women. And so I wanted to be able to share how her story can be seen in other women and make them feel like they are also valuable to God. So that is why I chose her.
Awesome. What can you share with us about Mary Magdalene that has helped you in your walk of life?
Awesome. So Mary Magdalene, I look at her as the one that they counted out. Mary Magdalene was introduced in the Word as her issue. So just like people, whenever you go through something or you've overcome something, sometimes people will still see you in that same place. And although she was the first one that saw Jesus once he rose from the grave, although she was the one who was told by Jesus to go tell the disciples that he has risen, although she was that one, people still remember her as the one who Jesus had to cast seven demons out of. And so that is why I absolutely love her story, because as women, sometimes it is very easy for us to be labeled based off of what we've been through. And I am a divorcee. I am one who, if you allow the society to tell it, I might be one of those ones that they believe that I should be overlooked, or they believe that I have sinned in some way where God can't use me. And it helps me to remember that God chose her with a huge assignment. And just because you might go through things in life or you had to overcome things in life, it does not negate your assignment and what God
Mhm.
called you to. And so that is why I love her. Sorry, I know that was one question. I got a whole bunch about her, but I wanted you to at least know why I chose her. She is the one that I want other women to see themselves in. And not that you have to be a divorcee or, go through things, but being able to know that God does not judge you based off of what you've been through, but he already gave you an assignment and a purpose before you were even born.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. I love that because I do. When we look at women like on social media, sometimes it can be hard to like know like what their problem is,
Yes.
and it can be hard to compare. So
Yeah.
that was a very good example.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for that. When I look at Mary Magdalene, I look at so many different aspects of her life. And as a woman, we are very emotional. And so I can imagine as a woman to be introduced in Luke 8 and 2, Mary called Magdalene, from whom seven demons had gone out. That is how they introduce her to the world, to everybody. And could you imagine if somebody said, yeah, Maria Friday, the one who was divorced? excuse me? Like, I could imagine how I would feel. You don't need to tell people my business. Like,
Yeah.
I am who I am without what I've been through. And so I believe that that freed me, because sometimes people will make you feel as if God's not pleased because of your past. And God, this is proof. This is proof, right? Because we don't know what those seven demons were, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
But to know that even with seven demons, God healed her and he gave her an assignment. And those assignment, or that assignment he gave her, was already going to happen with or without those seven demons. And so I believe that God will use whoever he like. And I also believe that God chooses the underdog on
Mm,
purpose, because people may have expected Paul or Peter or one of somebody close to him to be the one, right? That was a Everybody talks about Jesus dying on the cross, but also being risen. Everybody talks about it, right?
mhm,
So to know that you are associated with somebody like Jesus, and that your name will be rang from years to come. She didn't know that, right? She just knew, I'm coming to do the work of the Lord. In the word, it says that she was not a disciple, but she walked with them.
mhm,
So, thinking about disciples, I look at disciples as like his Jesus's friends,
mhm.
and so to know that maybe she might not have been a friend, but she was so close to his bosom that he allowed her to come around as as much as the disciples, right? Because it said that she Jesus walked with the disciples and a few women, including Mary Magdalene. So couldn't you imagine how the people who were probably watching her walk with them, they probably looked at her like, wait a minute, she's unqualified.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, she's not saved enough. Wait a minute, she looks like she might have a tattoo. Wait a minute, she looks like people were judging her. I know it because
Yeah.
how they introduced her. So that proved to me that I'm not, God doesn't look at the same thing that people look at. And if I get caught up in how society viewed me, I can get depressed. I can get have low self-esteem, like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Says who? Because my God said that the one who had seven demons cast out of is worthy enough to be the one that sees him first.
Yep.
So surely I'm worthy. Surely you're worthy, right? Where people sees problems, God sees purpose. And
Mm,
that is what I absolutely loved, because I, just like people, looked right at the seven demons, like, oh Lord, what kind of demon? I started thinking, what kind of demons you got, girl? That's a lot. But also I kept reading, and I'm like, well, why did he choose her? Because I also have to understand, back then women were not given the same opportunities as men. So we were not even looked at as a person almost. We were just, in the Bible, it says, rarely hear a woman's name. You did not know Noah's wife's name. You don't usually hear women's name because they did not have identities outside of their husbands. But Mary Magdalene had a name. God gave her an identity because he knew what he was going to use her for. And so where people see problems, God sees purpose. So that's my first thing. And then the second thing was staying close to Jesus even when others walk away. And so I looked at myself throughout this whole journey, looking at Mary Magdalene. So I also was diagnosed with cancer recently. And I know that while that was a very tough time for me, I saw people walk away. And I was wondering, like, God, how, in a time of need, how does this happen? And I was under the impression, well, did I do something wrong?
mm,
And that could have made me turn inside as well. Like, you know what? I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to talk to people. But it got me closer to God, because I realized that was exactly what he wanted me to do. he wanted to isolate me in that time so that the only voice I could hear was his. And so that he can pour into me, which is why it's so important to stay close to Jesus when others walk away.
Mhm.
Because the strength that I needed didn't come from man. The strength I needed came from God. And that is why he allowed people to seemingly walk away so that I can only rely on him and get the strength that I need to endure what I had to endure. So that is what Mary Magdalene also did, because whenever he died and, they took him in the grave, everybody walked away. Oh gosh, Jesus is dead. Oh man. And they left. Not Mary Magdalene. She stayed close. She kept coming. And that is exactly how she got to see Jesus being rose again, because she was coming back to clean him. And when she came back, now he was seemingly past gone, dead, and she went back to clean him up, and that is when she saw him rose again. Now think about, had she had the same mindset of others. Oh, it's over. This didn't work. I'm going to give up now. That's the mindset of things. When things don't go well, people usually give up. When
Mhm.
things when there's a situation that seems like death, they usually walk away. But not Mary Magdalene and not Maria Friday. We stay close to Jesus in the times of need because we know that's where strength comes. So that's my point number two. And then the last one is that the unlikely became the messenger. I love that. I am always a proponent of the underdog, because I am the underdog. I am the one that no one saw coming. I even someone called me a sniper, because no one can see me coming, because I'm very quiet, so kind of. But I know that in the times where God had me quiet, he was building me. He was pouring into me. And so while people saw me, and they couldn't tell that I had cancer, they couldn't tell that I was in treatment or tired or all those things, I always would say, wow, God, you are hiding me in this season. And I am just thankful that in that time, although I might be the unlikely one, I was able to stay close to God. And at this time, and going forward, I know that God has a great assignment for me, just like with Mary Magdalene. And so it's important to stay close to Jesus in times of need, and also understand that even if you are the underdog, the ones that people overlook, God will use you too.
It's beautiful. I love that. I really like your second point because that's one of the reasons why I created this podcast because I am often hidden and isolated, and it was very lonely, and I
Yeah.
didn't want other people to feel that way too. So I am very glad that you pointed that out.
Absolutely. And about that lonely place, I've been there in a room full of people.
Mhm.
So lonely does not always mean that you are alone, but I do understand that the enemy uses loneliness to change, or try to change the purpose of the loneliness, right? So loneliness is should be, sometimes God will isolate us, but the enemy will make us look at it as loneliness, when that's the enemy's job. And that's what I had to learn. um God calls me, even through breast cancer, I look at it as God used that experience to get me closer to him. Because here's what we know: all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. And so all things does include breast cancer, because I didn't die in it. And because I didn't, that must mean God allowed it to sit me down, and so he can talk to me, so that whenever I come out of it, in which I am, he can present to the world the underdog, the one who was hidden. Before this breast cancer journey, you did not see me on Hidden Unicorns or any other podcast, because I was
Yeah.
quiet. But God utilized that experience to show me who I am and whose I am. And that is why I'm doing the same to other women.
Awesome. What would you say to that woman who is like in that place of like loneliness. And you mentioned before, like feeling like their past or their pain or their wrongdoings identifies them instead of the purpose.
I would tell them, congratulations. Congratulations, because usually you don't ever hear that when you think of those things. But I tell myself congratulations because I know something's coming. I know that everything that I've endured in life, God has used it for my good. So this is no different. And so I thank God for all of the experiences I have overcome, because I get to use that to tell others, wait a minute, let me tell you, this is not my first time having cancer. This is my second time. And the second, usually when cancer comes back, it is very aggressive. But I didn't. This is how I know I can be the mouthpiece of the ones that are lonely and quiet and feel alone. I can come to them and say, "Listen, I know how that feels. I know how it feels to feel like you have nobody. I know how it feels to believe that you are overlooked and people keep pushing past you. I know exactly how it feels. And I also know that if you keep listening to that, you will begin to believe it, because I
Mhm.
did. I began to rehearse what I believed was happening. Nobody loves me. I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I began to rehearse those things. And then I went back to the word and I couldn't find it in there. I'm like, wait a minute. Now, if those things I'm hearing, but it's not in here, the author of confusion is the devil. That is his job. So I had to use the word of God as my mirror. And if it didn't say it in here, it wasn't for me. And so that is what I would tell any woman. You have to um, go and test where you're hearing this from, what you're hearing, where did it come from? And even if you can't identify exactly where it came from, I want you to go to the word and tell me, is it in here? Because if it's not in here, it's not about you. And I tell my kids this, kids are can be mean. And sometimes when they talk about bullying and things, and I would have to tell my kids, if someone calls you out your name, you they're not even talking to you. I named you one thing. So if anybody calls you anything outside of that, keep walking, sweetie. They're not talking to you. And that's the same thing as if the enemy's talking to you and telling you you're not worthy, you're not good enough. He's not even talking to you. I don't know who he's talking to. Might be talking to himself, but he's not talking to you. And so you get to not receive it. That is what, when the word says that we get to bind up the enemy, we can. We have the right. And so I get to say, the Bible says, resist the devil and he will flee. I don't even entertain it anymore. It's easier said than done. Trust me, I get it. But the more you like second guess it. I used to be like, wait a minute, if I'm not good enough, well, what am I good enough for? Because God says that I'm made perfect in his image. Now, what am I trying to be good enough for? Those are the things I had to, and I would say it out loud, because to me, I had to debunk what the enemy was saying. So if he said, you're not even good enough for that job, I'm like, good enough. Let me go to the word. Okay, well, God says that I'm the apple of his eye. So what am I not good enough for? This little job? God can do all things. So those are the types of things that I had to do. But if I were talking to a friend or anyone else, that's exactly what I would tell them to do. Don't allow the enemy to play in your mind. Resist the devil and he will flee. Rebuke him and tell him to go about his business. And then go to the word and remind yourself what God says about you.
Thank you. Yeah, because I can be that woman sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Saying like that's not who I am or that's not me, I am definitely gonna use that because that is very powerful.
Yes, and I want you to know that you are an anointed, amazing, beautiful woman of God. And I want you to always remember that, because the woman I see right now is amazing. So
Thank you.
Continue. You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. Thank you. Is anything else you'd like to share before we close?
I do just want to say, just to anyone that might be watching, it's easier said than done. I know I've said that before, but I want you to know that people may judge you based off of the chapter that they walked in on, but they have no pen or paper to write your story. And so realize and remember that God created you and he had a purpose for you before the foundation of the world. And so I know a lot of people, everyone gets on earth and they start questioning their purpose. It's normal, right? But know that there is one. There is a purpose for you. And the reason I know this to be true is because you can do that. The ones that no longer have a purpose can't do that anymore. So, this is how I know that if you're still here, God still has a plan for you. And I want anyone to know that you might not, people might not be able to understand you. It's not their job. People might try to put you in a place. They can't figure out where to put you. That's not their job. And so I would like for any woman to, in the event you question who you are or whose you are, I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to look in the Bible and ask yourself, did God make a mistake? No. He can't. He's not a man that he can't lie, and he does not make mistakes. So everything about you was on purpose. Everything that he created in you was on purpose, and there's more for you. And so I just want all women to know that God loves women so much that he created an intimate time with just us. I'm thinking about Mary Magdalene. Whenever she saw Jesus, it was just him and her. That wasn't by accident. Whenever he created Eve, he put Adam to sleep. So it was just God and Eve. God creates little moments for women to spend time directly with Him, with no one else, because there is a special relationship with women. So don't allow anybody to tell you you got to bring all this stuff to the table. Don't allow anybody to tell you you have to be this boss or whoever to be worthy enough for anything. Go to God and let Him tell you that you are the apple of his eye, that you are made in his image, and that everything he made was good, including you. That's it.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us. And thank you, Hidden Unicorns, for tuning in. Please remember that you are God's special hidden unicorns, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.